Hey guys, my name is Matthew, and this is my February 2021 book wrap-up. Let's get right into it. In February, I read 3 memoirs, 4 nonfiction books, 3 historical fiction books, and 2 classics. One of those books I did not finish. We'll get to that book in a minute. I'm not sure if I'm going to make a full video on that book or not. I don't know, depends on how long this goes, I guess. Okay, in the memoirs section, I told you last month I was gonna read Centered by Jason Brown. I loved this book. It was really, really well done. A great memoir, I think, really touching. And it really showed a great way that you can live your life intentionally for God without being that over the top crazy stuff. That's like, oh, and did God really tell you to do that? Or are you just crazy? I don't know. This felt like a really well-grounded Christian memoir. I really, really highly recommend it. I enjoyed this a lot. It's the story of the ex-NFL star who turns into a farmer because he's following the will of God. Between Two Kingdoms is also a really well-done memoir. This is a journey about cancer. There are obviously plenty of cancer memoirs, but this one is different in that it spends a good amount of time, and the strength of this novel is the time that it spends talking about how to go from beating cancer and being in that world of sickness into this new world of health. And she travels around the nation. She visits people that wrote to her while she was, undergoing chemotherapy. And it was a really well done memoir. I really appreciated, especially that aspect of it, but the whole thing was well written. When Harry Met Minnie is a pet memoir. It's not really about the pets, although it is. If you're a dog lover, you're gonna love this book, but it's really about friendship and love. If you like New York City, this is a great memoir for you. Well written, and if you like Teichner, obviously, this is a no-brainer to pick this memoir up as well. I think she just did a really good job with this memoir. I appreciated this book for what it was, a relatively short read and really touching. Also deals with cancer some, but in a very different way than Between Two Kingdoms. In nonfiction, I read Bill Gates' new book, How to Prevent a Climate Disaster. I thought it was well done. This is not the best climate book I think I've read, climate change stuff. I think that this one is interesting if you want to know about the technology that is going on to try and prevent some climate change stuff, but it's not, hands down the best one for it. If you don't know much about climate change or whatever, this isn't the right book to get into for the first time. But if you're really interested in the technology surrounding it, this is a great book. And I think he did a really good job of talking about specifically technology, which obviously is Bill Gates's kind of focus. I read The Divine Comedy by Glenn Scrivener. This is a great, cute little primer for Christianity. It's kind of an Easter book, and he talks about these two ideas, of a comedy, like a Shakespearean comedy, normally has the smile shape, and the tragedy has the frown shape, meaning it starts bad and ends bad. And he has the question, what is your life? Does your life start bad and then end in death, or does it start, good with this wonderful birth and end in a wedding? And he invites us to think about Christianity in those perspectives. Really interesting. It's a really short read, the shortest read from this month for sure. It's like, I don't know, an hour or something to read the book. Really recommend it. It could be a really good evangelistic tool as well. I read Atomic Habits. This is actually a reread for me. I like this book. It's well done. I put out a review for it. I think I like The Power of Habit more, but this one has some more practical tips in it. Basically, if you're looking to change some habits in your life, maybe get rid of some bad habits or pick up some new good habits, this is a great book for that. Some people prefer this one over The Power of Habits. I think either book would do you really well if you're looking to make some of those kinds of changes. Your Brain is Always Listening is my did not finish book from this week. From this month. I tried really hard. I got to about 60%. It's a psychology book, which is not the problem. I like psychology books. In fact, I have really enjoyed some psychology books quite a bit. And I don't even have a problem with his theory or his model. He's got like this model where he blames the issues on dragons, which are like things from the past or other people's stuff or different habits you have, things like that. And he calls them all dragons. And I think there's, he's basically infused quite a few different theories like CBT and INF and narrative, and which is good. Those are all good things that he's done in the theory itself. The book was not well done, maybe. It's not, let me rephrase, it was well done in some ways. I think my copy was like an advanced reader's copy, so it had like some different spelling and like formatting issues, so I don't really fault him for that. But I think there's too much information packed into it. The information feels redundant though, so too much redundant information. And then it's like, just to give you an example, from Dragons from the Past, I don't remember all of them exactly, but there was like a lonely dragon, an abandonment dragon, and like a sadness dragon, and there's like these 5 different dragons, and I was like, man, you could have condensed those dragons into one dragon instead of listing 13 different dragons, and each dragon has its own mini chapter about it. It was like a lot there. It would be a good so who the book is recommended for. If you're a clinical psychologist or a clinician of some kind, you do counseling or therapy, it could be a useful model for helping someone else out with, and you could reference specific aspects of the book when you need to turn to them. It's not a good book to read straight through or to try and diagnose yourself with. There are much better books, or not diagnose, but like it's not a great, it's a good tool, but the book is not written in a way that the tool is usable, I think. And it was just a hard book to read, like kind of straight through, even though I've enjoyed other books that are similar. I don't know, that's too much on this probably, but your brain is always listening. I couldn't finish it. So there's that. Historical fiction books, I read The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. That was my first ever Kristen Hanna book. I loved it. It was wonderful. It's really, really well written historical fiction surrounding the Dust Bowl era. It was so well written that I read another Kristen Hanna book, my second Kristen Hanna book ever in this month. I read The Nightingale, and I actually did a buddy read for The Nightingale. You can check out the video of some of our thoughts on the book if you've read it already. If you haven't read it, I would not recommend clicking on that video. And then I read another, The Nightingale is a World War II book though, and it's really well done. Character driven. I think it's an excellent book. Some people have some problems with some historicity of it and things like that, and that's fine. But I just really enjoyed the read. I thought it was a really well written book. Send for Me is another World War II historical fiction piece that takes it in a totally different direction. Very atypical. World War II is like the backdrop, but it's definitely not the main point. The main point of Send for Me is like generational relationships. And they really focus on these letters that are based on real letters that Lauren Fox has collected over the years from her family. Just a really, really well-written book. It's different though. The literary style here is very high. So if you consider yourself maybe like a medium to low level reader, this is not probably the right book for you. It could be confusing at times. She switches perspectives and timelines, and the writing is complex, but really well done. If you enjoy historical fiction and like a different take on it, Send for Me is definitely a good book for that. Lastly, a couple classics I hit. One of them was Call of the Wild, which I actually did while I was sitting out in like inches of snow in the freezing cold weather. I did a video of that called the Freeze Your Butt Off Challenge. If you're interested in the challenge, go check out that video. I've got the main version of it and a light version that are detailed in the video. Call of the Wild is great, a wonderful, wonderful book. Jack London has written from the perspective of a dog who starts in the lower 48. He goes up into Canada and Alaska to kind of join a sled dog team, and it's a really great, some people call it like a kid's book, and it's written as if it could be a kid's book, but the ideas in it are strong, and it's a classic for a reason. It's really well written. It's an interesting read. It's a quick read, and you could spend a lot of time thinking about it after you're done. I really liked Call of the Wild, and I think I recommend it for just about anyone. And then lastly, I read Fox's Book of Martyrs. This is a book that basically goes through the martyrdom of Christianity, starting from the very beginning, not all the people, but details specific stories of people who died for Christianity, and kind of what their deaths looked like. What are the details surrounding them? What do we know about them? Some of the stories are really cool, really powerful, and really convicting, I think. Not only how do you live your life well for Christ, but how do you die well for Christ? It's not a long read either, but it is a powerful read. And so, it's not one that you just kind of breeze through real quick. This has been my February wrap-up. If you enjoyed this, if you enjoy my content, feel free to like and subscribe. And as always, stay safe out there.